Hello, my name is Annie. I'm a junior in the college studying neuroscience, and this past summer, I had the wonderful opportunity to work in Dr. Mariella De Biasi's lab. During this experience, I contributed to a literature review focused on neonatal opioid withdrawal syndrome, otherwise known as NOWS. More specifically, it delves into the developmental vulnerabilities following maternal morphine, methadone, and buprenorphine exposure. What I worked on was the buprenorphine section of the review. Just to give a little background on the opioid crisis, this graph in my introduction illustrates three waves of the rise in opioid overdose deaths. The first wave emerged in the 1990s due to overprescription of opioids, which were widely marketed as non-addictive drugs. Then, heroin and synthetic opioids caused the next two waves, which are much more recent. As you can see, this epidemic has remained a really prominent health crisis in the US. In regards to buprenorphine, medications containing it are FDA approved for the treatment of opioid use disorder, or OUD. Buprenorphine is an opioid, but it has pharmacological properties that actually prevent the rewarding and addicting effects of illicit opioid use, and it also alleviates withdrawal symptoms and cravings. This really helps people manage their opioid addiction. Pregnant women with OUD may be prescribed buprenorphine medications. The effects of maternal buprenorphine exposure are important to look at, since there is an inherent vulnerability in the offspring of mothers exposed to opioids that has not yet been characterized with behavioral and biochemical outcomes. My objective was to use the available literature to examine current models and existing knowledge on maternal buprenorphine exposure in NOWS. Essentially, what I found was that preclinical rodent models provided varying insights. Depending on things such as dose administered, period of exposure, and other experimental factors, different observations and results were found. For instance, one study saw that resorptions and birth weight of offspring were unaffected, and the researchers suggested that buprenorphine does not negatively affect offspring or mothers. Alternatively, another paper noted that mortality index, number of stillbirths, and resorptions increased in all buprenorphine-exposed groups. For low doses of buprenorphine, a study concluded that it was generally safe and therapeutic, but a different model using guinea pigs observed increased withdrawal-related hyperactivity. This is all part of the physical metrics section of my results. Moving on to the biochemical metrics, these all found that rats exposed to buprenorphine had brains exhibiting downregulation of mu opioid receptors. MORs are what opioids bind to and activate. Lastly, for the drug abuse risk section, some researchers found that buprenorphine is favorable to methadone, the primary OUD treatment. It put buprenorphine in a more promising positive light, but other studies emphasized the development of physical dependence and how more research has to be done in order to fully understand its effects. This review focuses on preclinical studies and summarizes current understandings of maternal buprenorphine exposure. An important next step would be to investigate clinical studies in the same manner. Thank you.